Common is finally speaking out, and what he revealed about Jennifer Hudson has everyone talking. For months, people thought their love was strong, maybe even leading to marriage. He praised her in interviews, calling their bond one of the greatest blessings of his life. But now, rumors suggest that something behind the scenes changed everything. Common has been dropping hints, and insiders claim he's no longer holding back about why things didn't work out. Was it the pressure of commitment, or did deeper secrets push him away? Fans are stunned because no one saw this coming. Jennifer has faced heartbreak before, but this time, it feels different. The truth about what Common really said, and why he couldn't continue with her, is messier than anyone imagined. But that wasn't the whole story, because what happened next would leave even their closest friends shocked.
I'd be the type of person that never really settles with somebody. Maybe he's like a, he's like a bee going from flower to flower to flower.
When Jennifer Hudson and Common first stepped out together, people thought it was a match made in Hollywood heaven. Jennifer, the powerhouse singer and actress with an inspiring story, and Common, the respected rapper and activist who had already dated some of the biggest names in the game. At first, everything looked picture perfect. Common spoke glowingly about her in interviews, calling their connection one of the most important things in his entire life.
That relationship is one of the greatest blessings and most important things in my life, in my whole journey in life. The friendship, the partnership, the life partnership, just the connection. Man, it's one of those things where you don't know truly what true partnership and relationship is until you get there.
He described their relationship as a true partnership, something deeper than anything he had known before. Fans were convinced he was finally ready to settle down, and whispers of marriage grew louder every time he smiled beside her on the red carpet. But while the public saw sweet smiles and romantic words, some people noticed the cracks that were harder to hide. Common has a history of being charming in the beginning, but losing interest when the spark fades. And Jennifer, still carrying scars from her past relationships, seemed cautious about moving too fast. The balance between them looked fragile, even as they tried to show the world that everything was perfect. On the outside, it looked like a love story set to last. On the inside, the pressure was building, and it wouldn't be long before the shine began to fade. Because while Common was telling the world how much Jennifer meant to him, whispers of another story were already starting to spread. It didn't take long before the fairy tale began to feel shaky. Fans who once rooted for Jennifer and Common started whispering that something wasn't right. Reports claimed he had been spotted out without her, looking a little too comfortable with other women. For someone who had just called Jennifer his greatest blessing, the timing seemed off. Insiders even suggested that after Jennifer refused his proposal, Common's attitude began to change. Suddenly, instead of praising her, he was allegedly talking behind her back, telling friends he couldn't stand certain things about her anymore. Some wondered if this was just another repeat of his old habits. After all, Common himself admitted in past interviews that he often chased the high of new love. But once the honeymoon feeling wore off, he'd pull away. Could Jennifer's rejection have triggered that cycle again? Or was there something deeper, something he wasn't saying out loud? Rumors even floated that he might have been spinning the narrative to distract from other whispers about him, whispers that questioned whether he was really interested in women at all. Whatever the truth, one thing was clear: Jennifer and Common's relationship was no longer the picture-perfect story fans believed. But that wasn't the end of it, because the more people dug into Common's history, the clearer it became that this wasn't the first time he left a woman behind once the excitement faded. If there's one thing Common has never lacked, it's charm. Over the years, he's been linked to some of the most admired women in Hollywood: Serena Williams, Erykah Badu, Taraji P. Henson, Angela Rye, Tiffany Haddish, and more. Each relationship started with excitement, public appearances, and sweet words about how much he cared. But just as quickly as the romance began, it ended. None of these women stayed with him for the long run, and the pattern became impossible to ignore. Even Common admitted the truth himself. In a past interview, he confessed that he struggled with what his therapist called love addiction.
The pattern I found myself in, and what was called love addiction, my therapist broke it down, was like that feeling of being like, oh, I'm in love, and this that honeymoon period that people call it. I was addicted to that.
He explained that he was hooked on the thrill of new love, fireworks, the excitement, the honeymoon phase. But when that glow faded, he would lose interest, distance himself, and eventually walk away. For him, the chase was more satisfying than the commitment that followed. So when Jennifer Hudson came along, many believed she might finally be the exception. She had the talent, the strength, and the presence to keep his attention. Common even hinted that if he were to ever marry, it could be with her. But history has a way of repeating itself, and those who watched closely closely saw the same signs they had seen before: smiles for the cameras, promises in interviews, and then the silence. And as whispers grew louder about the distance between Jennifer and Common, fans began to wonder, was she simply the latest name in a long list of women who couldn't keep him interested? But as people watched the cracks form, new red flags were about to surface. At first, the tension was easy to miss. Jennifer and Common still showed up at events together, smiling for the cameras and saying all the right things. But fans who paid close attention noticed something different. They weren't as affectionate. They stopped posting about each other as often. Body language experts even pointed out how Jennifer seemed more distant, while Common appeared distracted. To outsiders, it looked like love was slowly slipping away, one public appearance at a time. Then came Jennifer's cryptic posts, quotes about protecting your peace, messages about choosing yourself. To some, it sounded like a woman sending hidden signals that everything wasn't okay behind the scenes. At the same time, reports surfaced of Common being seen without her, sometimes looking a little too friendly with other women. None of it was confirmed, but the stories spread quickly. After all, this was the same man who once admitted he struggled to stay in relationships once the excitement faded. What shocked people even more were claims that Common allegedly told people close to him that he couldn't stand being around Jennifer anymore. For a man who once called her his greatest blessing, it was a complete shift. Something had clearly changed, but nobody could pinpoint exactly what. Was it Jennifer's refusal to marry him? Was it old patterns creeping back? Or was it something else entirely that pushed him away? Whatever the reason, the perfect image of their love story was starting to crack, and the truth behind those cracks was far more complicated than anyone realized. But that wasn't the end of the drama, because Jennifer's past and her fears of marriage were about to play a major role in what came next. One of the biggest turning points in Jennifer and Common's relationship was the rumor of a proposal. Sources close to the couple claimed Common was ready to settle down and even planned to ask Jennifer to marry him. But when the moment came, Jennifer reportedly wasn't interested. For many, this was the spark that lit the fire of tension between them. Jennifer's hesitation wasn't surprising to those who knew her past. She had already endured a long and difficult relationship with David Otunga, one filled with drama, legal battles, and emotional scars. That breakup left her wary of marriage altogether. Friends revealed she often said she wasn't ready to risk another painful ending and that she didn't want to repeat old mistakes by rushing into something she might regret. Common, on the other hand, was said to be frustrated. He wanted to prove that he had changed, that he could be serious about commitment. But Jennifer's refusal may have been the moment he realized their future together had limits. Some believe it bruised his ego, others say it pushed him to start questioning if he should even stay. And while Jennifer may have thought she was protecting her peace, the rejection opened a new wound in the relationship, one that never quite healed. From that point on, things were never the same. But that wasn't the only issue haunting their love story, because whispers from Common's past soon resurfaced, and they brought even more drama into the spotlight. Just when people thought the drama between Jennifer and Common couldn't get any messier, Jaguar Wright stepped in with her own explosive claims. Jaguar has never been afraid to call out big names in the industry, and when it came to Common, she didn't hold back. She alleged that Common has never truly loved the women he dated, accusing him of using them for status and clout. According to her, his relationships were less about love and more about how they boosted his image in Hollywood. But Jaguar didn't stop there. She went even further, suggesting that Common's interest in women was questionable to begin with. She claimed that every woman who had been with him knew the truth, that deep down, his heart leaned in another direction. She pointed out how none of his famous exes ever spoke publicly about intimacy with him, hinting that this silence was more telling than people realized. Then came the story that really turned heads. A man at a Hollywood event allegedly revealed that Common spent nearly an hour chatting him up, almost ignoring the man's wife, who was working the event. Later in the night, Common reportedly asked him what he was doing afterward, leaving the man stunned. To many, it sounded like Jaguar's bold claims might not be so far-fetched after all. Whether true or not, these allegations added fuel to the fire and painted a new picture of why Common may have struggled in his relationships. But even Jaguar's claims weren't the final piece of this puzzle, because behind the scenes, Common's own past trauma was about to explain even more. While rumors swirled about Common's love life, some insiders suggested his struggles ran deeper than failed relationships. Over the years, whispers have surfaced that Common himself has carried private pain that shaped the way he connects with others. Some allege he was taken advantage of by a man when he was younger, an experience that may have left him with complicated feelings about intimacy and trust. Though Common hasn't confirmed these claims directly, he has spoken in interviews about the emotional scars he carries and how they've made relationships difficult for him. For fans, it painted a more complex picture. Maybe it wasn't just that Common lost interest when the honeymoon ended. Maybe he was dealing with wounds that made long-term love harder to hold on to. Some even speculate that this inner conflict explains why his relationships seem to burn bright in the beginning but fizzle out just as quickly. On the outside, Common always appeared confident, charming, and grounded. But behind the calm image, people wondered if he was battling feelings he didn't know how to share. And if those whispers were true, it could explain why commitment has always been such a challenge for him. Why no matter how good things seemed, something inside kept pulling him away. But Common isn't the only one carrying scars. Jennifer's past battles and messy relationships also played a role in why their love story unraveled. And that's where the spotlight shifted next. While Common's past raised plenty of questions, Jennifer Hudson's history with love hasn't been smooth either. Before Common, she spent nearly a decade in a rocky relationship with David Otunga. On the surface, they looked stable, but behind closed doors, things turned toxic fast. Their split turned into a messy public battle, complete with accusations, protective orders, and claims that painted both sides in a negative light. Jennifer accused David of controlling behavior and even said he tried to use their son to spy on her. David fired back, insisting she was lying and using her influence in the industry to damage his image. The situation grew so heated that authorities had to step in, though David was later cleared of wrongdoing. Still, the drama left lasting scars. Jennifer admitted she didn't want to rush into marriage again after that experience. To make matters worse, rumors surfaced that she might have been unfaithful during that relationship, though she never confirmed it. The constant back and forth created the picture of a woman who had learned to be guarded and cautious, maybe even cold when it came to commitment. So when she entered her relationship with Common, some believed she carried those same walls with her. And when Common realized he might never break them down, the distance between them only grew. But in the end, both of their pasts collided, and what looked like a perfect match became yet another Hollywood love story gone wrong. When Jennifer Hudson and Common first got together, many hoped this would finally be the relationship that lasted. She was strong, talented, and grounded. He was charming, thoughtful, and finally seemed ready to settle down. But over time, the cracks in their picture-perfect story became impossible to ignore. Between Common's history of losing interest once the thrill was gone, Jennifer's own fears of marriage after a toxic past, and explosive rumors swirling from all directions, their bond simply couldn't survive. Some say Jennifer's refusal to marry him was the breaking point. Others believe Common's old patterns crept back, no matter how much therapy he claimed to have done. Then there are those who think deeper truths about Common's personal struggles played a bigger role than anyone wants to admit. And of course, Jennifer's complicated past only added fuel to the fire, leaving both of them carrying baggage neither was ready to fully unpack. At the end of the day, their breakup is a reminder that even the brightest love stories in Hollywood can hide shadows no one sees. Maybe Common and Jennifer were never truly on the same page, or maybe they were both battling ghosts from their past that no amount of love could erase. One thing is certain, this isn't just about a romance ending, it's about two powerful people who couldn't escape their histories. And that leaves us all wondering, was this love story doomed from the start, or did they simply give up too soon?